Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in life when the noise around you becomes so loud that you can no longer hear your own heartbeat. You keep running, keep chasing, keep pleasing, yet deep down, you feel a void that no crowd, no applause, and no company seems to fill. In those moments, solitude becomes a gift. Not loneliness, not isolation, but solitude, the sacred space where you return to yourself, where you hear your own thoughts clearly, and where you rebuild your strength silently. Today, let's talk about why solitude is not a weakness, not a punishment, but your hidden superpower. Solitude connects you to your true self. When you live in a world full of expectations, it becomes easy to lose sight of who you really are. People project their dreams on you, society imposes its rules, and slowly you begin to forget your own voice. You start to live for others, not realizing that you have drifted away from yourself. Solitude changes that. It silences the noise and allows you to reconnect with your essence, the part of you that knows exactly what you want and who you are meant to be. In solitude, you begin to see your life without filters. You notice how many decisions you made to please others rather than yourself. You realize that many of the paths you walked were never truly yours. This realization may sting, but it is also the beginning of freedom, because you cannot create a life that fulfills you until you know yourself deeply. Solitude holds up a mirror that is brutally honest. It doesn't flatter you, it doesn't lie to you, it shows you the raw truth. It shows you your flaws, your strengths, your potential, and your wounds. And though facing this reflection may feel heavy, it is also healing. Because truth always sets you free. When you sit alone, your fears rise to the surface. You cannot distract yourself with noise anymore, so you must face them. And when you do, you realize they are not as powerful as you thought. You discover courage you didn't know you had, and you begin to embrace the parts of yourself you once tried to hide. The beauty of solitude is that it teaches you acceptance. It teaches you to stop running from your emotions, to stop burying your pain, and to finally embrace your story. You start realizing that you don't need to be perfect to be worthy, you only need to be real. As you grow comfortable with your own company, the opinions of others stop defining you. You no longer crave validation because you have already validated yourself. You no longer chase approval because you know your worth is not dependent on applause. And the moment you truly connect with yourself in solitude, the world outside loses its power to shake you because you have found unshakable strength within. Solitude fuels creativity and clarity. The world is crowded with endless distractions. Noise is constant, phones buzzing, people talking, demands pulling you in every direction. In that chaos, your mind becomes too cluttered to think clearly. Creativity suffocates in noise. But when you step into solitude, silence becomes your sanctuary and clarity begins to bloom. In solitude, thoughts that were once jumbled begin to align. The fog in your mind starts to clear. And suddenly you can see patterns, connections, and possibilities you couldn't see before. Problems that felt impossible begin to reveal solutions. Solitude is not about escaping reality. It is about seeing reality more clearly. Every idea is a seed, but in the crowded noise, seeds remain buried. In solitude, the soil of your mind becomes fertile, giving those seeds space to grow. Slowly, they sprout into visions, into dreams, into creativity that has the power to change not just your life, but the lives of others. History is filled with proof. Writers penned masterpieces in solitude. Inventors solved mysteries in silence. And visionaries dreamed in stillness. It was not in noise that brilliance was born, it was in quiet reflection. Silence gave their minds the freedom to create what noise could never allow. Solitude also protects authenticity. When you are constantly exposed to others' opinions, your ideas become diluted, shaped by comparison and influenced by doubt. But in solitude, your imagination is pure. What you create is not borrowed, it is yours, raw and real. The silence of solitude awakens your senses. You begin to notice things you missed before, the rhythm of your own breath, the beauty of small details, the patterns of your thoughts. This awareness sharpens your vision until you begin to see the extraordinary within the ordinary. And every time you return to solitude, you return with clarity sharper than before, with creativity brighter than before, with inspiration that flows endlessly from within. Solitude strengthens emotional resilience. People fear being alone because they believe it makes them weak. The truth is, the opposite. Solitude makes you stronger than any crowd ever could. It forces you to rely on yourself, to comfort yourself, to heal yourself. And when you learn to do that, you become unshakable. In solitude, emotions rise to the surface. Pain you buried, anger you ignored, grief you avoided, they all come to visit. At first, it feels overwhelming, but as you sit with them, you realize they cannot destroy you. They lose their power when you stop running from them. This process builds resilience. You learn that sadness does not drown you, it teaches you. You learn that fear does not paralyze you, it guides you. You learn that heartbreak does not end you, it transforms you. And all of this is possible because solitude gave you the courage to feel fully. You begin to recognize your emotional triggers. You see where your reactions come from. You understand the patterns you kept repeating. And awareness becomes your superpower because once you see clearly, you can choose differently. Solitude teaches self-soothing. Instead of waiting for someone else to heal your wounds, you learn to hold space for yourself. Instead of seeking temporary comfort from others, you learn to build permanent strength within. This independence of emotion makes you powerful. The storms of life will always come: loss, rejection, disappointment. But solitude prepares you. It grounds you. It becomes the anchor that keeps you steady when the waves try to throw you off balance. While others break under pressure, solitude trains you to bend but not shatter. And each time you rise from solitude, you carry resilience that no heartbreak, no rejection, and no failure can ever take away from you. Solitude empowers independence. There is a freedom that only solitude can teach you. It is the freedom of knowing you can stand alone and still be whole. It is the freedom of knowing your happiness belongs to you, not to anyone else. And once you taste this freedom, you are never the same again. Solitude teaches you survival. It reminds you that you don't need to beg for attention to feel worthy. You don't need to cling to relationships out of fear of being alone. You don't need external validation to prove your existence. You are capable, you are enough, and you can thrive on your own. When you begin to enjoy your own company, desperation disappears. You stop chasing people who don't value you. You stop tolerating what doesn't respect you. You stop settling for less than you deserve. Independence, born from solitude, empowers you to walk away without fear. This independence also transforms your decisions. No longer do you choose based on fear of rejection. You choose from strength, from clarity, from the knowledge that you will be fine whether people stay or leave. You no longer live to avoid abandonment, you live to honor yourself. And this independence doesn't make you hard, it makes you free. Free to love without clinging, free to give without expectation, free to walk away without regret. You love people, but you don't depend on them for survival. You cherish them, but you don't lose yourself in them. Solitude shifts your perspective on relationships. Instead of searching for someone to complete you, you realize you are already complete. Instead of demanding happiness from others, you bring happiness into the bond. That shift changes everything because it transforms need into choice. And once you have experienced this independence, you will never again confuse chains with love or cling to cages disguised as comfort because you have already discovered the power of standing free. Solitude reveals your purpose. Life is noisy, and in that noise, your purpose becomes buried. The world tells you what to want, who to be, what path to walk. Expectations, comparisons, and pressures drown the voice of your soul. But when you step into solitude, the fog lifts and purpose begins to whisper. Purpose never shouts, it whispers. It waits in silence for you to notice it. And unless you create space, you will never hear it. Solitude is the space where purpose speaks clearly, softly, but powerfully. In solitude, you begin to ask questions that matter. Who am I? Why am I here? What do I want my life to mean? These questions are not answered in crowded rooms. They are answered in stillness, where your heart finally speaks truths your mind has long ignored. You notice what excites your spirit and what drains your energy. You realize what feels aligned with your soul and what feels forced. These realizations guide you toward the path that was meant for you, not the one society forced upon you. Solitude sharpens your focus. It strips away the unnecessary, the distractions, the noise, until only clarity remains. And in that clarity, you see not just where you are, but where you are meant to go. That direction is your purpose. And once you discover purpose in solitude, you begin to live differently. You stop rushing. You stop competing. You stop imitating. Instead, you walk with intention, with alignment, with peace. Purpose makes solitude your friend because every time you return to it, you return to clarity. And the greatest power of solitude is this: it transforms your life from wandering aimlessly to walking intentionally, from chasing approval to fulfilling destiny, from being lost in noise to being anchored in purpose. At the end of the day, when you begin to embrace solitude, you realize it was never your enemy, it was your greatest ally. The world may convince you that being alone is weakness, that silence is emptiness, and that solitude is loneliness. But in truth, solitude is strength, silence is wisdom, and being alone is where you meet the best version of yourself. It is in solitude that you connect with your true identity. It is in solitude that your creativity blossoms. It is in solitude that your emotions grow resilient. It is in solitude that your independence is born. And it is in solitude that your purpose is revealed. Solitude is not about walking away from the world. It is about returning to yourself so that when you walk back into the world, you walk with clarity, with resilience, with independence, and with a purpose that no one can shake. When you master the art of being alone, you are never truly lonely again, because you carry within you a strength so powerful that it becomes your light in the darkest moments, your anchor in the heaviest storms, and your superpower in a world that never stops making noise.